Mo Salah dropped for Liverpool's Champions League game with Inter Milan, but the club stopped short of taking disciplinary action against him. Hi there, welcome to the show. It's the Premier League show. Mo Salah will not be considered for selection for a short period. We are going to be live to Milan shortly before hearing from Arne Slot for the first time this evening since those comments, and we'll find out what the Liverpool fans make of it all.
He spoke the truth. The truth's come out.
He's not on form at the moment. He needs to be on the bench.
You know, we can all look into the fishbowl from the outside, but we're no the fish.
Right then, joining me tonight, former Chelsea, Everton, Bournemouth goalkeeper Asmir Begovic. Great to have you alongside me. Currently at Leicester. Probably guessed it, we're going to be starting with Mo Salah. Now, he's been left out of Liverpool's squad for tomorrow night's Champions League tie against Inter Milan. Arne Slot is going to be facing the media a little bit later. Right, ahead of that, let's cross now and speak to our reporter, Vinny O'Connor. Vinny, Liverpool have made a massive decision. Just talk us through exactly what has happened today.
Yeah, it's been a far from straightforward period for Liverpool when you consider those comments from Mo Salah made after the Leeds United game, and now subsequently he's been dropped entirely from the Liverpool squad. I suppose the closest we got to normal today was Mo Salah reporting for training this morning, and then following on from that, of course, he was all smiles at training with his teammates. And usually the indication is that if someone is taking part, certainly of the calibre of Mo Salah, in a training session prior to flying out to Milan for a Champions League tie, then you would expect that player to be part of the Liverpool travelling party. But then came confirmation that Mo Salah was indeed not going to be part of that travelling party, and indeed that he's not going to be considered for selection for a brief period, following on from those comments, as I say, about his future at Liverpool, about his relationship with Arne Slot as well. This is a decision that's been taken by the Liverpool hierarchy in consultation, of course, with Arne Slot, the head coach. It's not disciplinary action as such, but they do feel that it's beneficial for the rest of the squad, for the club as a whole, and for Mo Salah himself if he has that brief period away from being considered for selection. It still remains unclear as to whether he could potentially be involved against Brighton at the weekend. Then, of course, he is off to the African Cup of Nations. But I suppose, in essence, what it does show is a good deal of support for Arne Slot as well in this situation after what Mo Salah said in light of that Leeds United game.
Yeah, Vinny, I mean, how much more pressure has Salah put on Slot?
It's an interesting one. In terms of team selection, he's put a bit of pressure on his manager because Cody Gakpo and Federico Chiesa are carrying injuries, so they're not likely to play against Inter Milan tomorrow. And so obviously Mo Salah would have been a much needed addition to the squad were he to be considered for selection. But on top of that, I suppose, as well, when Mo Salah's talking about a relationship breaking down with a manager, when he's talking about being thrown under the bus as well, that can go one of two ways. It could have been that Liverpool's hierarchy came out in support of the player, and player power would have won in that respect, but Liverpool's hierarchy clearly is not standing for that. Instead, they've supported their manager wholeheartedly, and now I suppose if Mo Salah is to have a future with Liverpool, it needs contrition on Mo Salah's part and a bit of forgiveness from Arne Slot as well to move forward. As I say, they've got that break with the African Cup of Nations once the Brighton game is out of the way, and maybe that can help mend bridges in some respects, but at the same time it's a sad situation that it's come to this when a club legend who's achieved so much in terms of bringing silverware to Liverpool, but also the numbers that he's posted as well, has felt the need to speak out in the way that he has. And I think there's plenty of Liverpool legends in the past who will tell you that this club is not bigger than one individual, and Mo Salah, in many people's eyes, has gone against that.
Vinny, thank you. We'll catch up with you later. Right now, our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solokal, joins us, but we're going to start with our chief pundit, Asmir. Look, are Liverpool right to drop Salah?
I think in this situation, I think the club have to take a stance. I think it's a difficult situation for everybody, not one they probably planned for or would like to deal with, but I think at this moment in time, with those comments and I guess the situation the whole team is in, I think they have to take a stance and make this decision.
What did you think when you first saw these comments? Because I had to double take when I first read them, watched them. You know, what was your reaction initially?
I mean, I think I was surprised, like most people, really, at the comments from Mo Salah. I think there was a lot of things that I would like to know, of course. I think we all like to know. There's obviously been a situation that's been brewing. I don't think those comments come overnight. So, Mo Salah is a really proud guy. He's a big professional, someone who wants to do the best for Liverpool Football Club. And obviously he felt like a lot of things happened to him that he wasn't happy with. And I think from that moment, he had to make a comment. He obviously had to look after himself. But I think from a team point of view, from a club point of view, that's probably not the best way to handle these things. And I think if you look at the club, could they maybe handle that situation a bit differently? Could they have maybe kept him away from speaking to the media? I think for me that would have been an interesting point. But I think for Mo Salah, he's a proud guy. He's a big professional. Achieved so many things with Liverpool that obviously the emotions got the better of him after a game.
Kaveh, were you surprised? Because Salah does have previous with bombshell interviews, shall we say.
He's done this kind of thing before. I think when it looked like he wasn't going to get a new contract at Liverpool, he stopped in the mix zone to give an interview where he famously said that he felt that he was more out than in. So this is something that he's got experience of doing. Just to paint a picture of what actually happened after the game on Saturday, he stopped in an area called the mix zone. Now, this is a sort of area where after games, the players have to walk through, and some journalists can stand there behind a barrier, and it's up to the players to decide whether they stop to talk to the journalists or not. They don't have to at all. And normally the protocol is that if you didn't play in the game, you don't stop at all. Most players, 99% of them, don't stop anyway. So it was very strange that Mo Salah stopped to talk when he didn't feature in the game at all. Also, you have to say a great job by the journalist from the Liverpool Echo who got Mo Salah to stop and got him to say everything that he said. And I think because of the bond between the local paper and Liverpool players, that is why Mo Salah stopped to speak to him. Obviously, there were other journalists there as well who filmed it and I think asked questions as well. But that just proves the importance of local journalism as well, that local knowledge, that relationship that local papers have with players. Now, regarding what he said, I'm in total agreement with Asmir here. You just can't say what he said in public. You can't criticise the club. You can't criticise the manager. OK, it's understandable that you feel like that, but you express those emotions and those thoughts and those feelings in private, not in public. Because part of the deal is when you sign a contract to represent and play for a club like Liverpool, you have to abide by the rules. And if you're dropped, you just keep your mouth shut and you work hard in training until you get another chance to get back in the team. You don't throw your manager under the bus, to use Mo Salah's words.
Interesting. Look, you touched on the mix zone as well. Just tell us from a player's perspective what it's like. Is it at your discretion, whether you've played or not, that you want to stop and chat?
It's not at the player's discretion. So after a game, the press officer will either send you a message or will come in the dressing room and say to the players who need to speak to the media based on usually on the result, maybe who's done it less, who's done it more. So you'll be notified as to what you have to do, where your commitments are. If you're notified to speak to the press, you do so. If not, normally it means you don't speak to the press. That means you're free to go to the bus or free to go home. And that's why I think I'm quite surprised, especially with the high-profile nature of Mo Salah and the situation, that maybe somebody didn't just escort him straight to the bus and make sure that nothing was said or nothing was dealt with. But obviously, maybe it's a lesson learned for everybody. That's normally how it works, so I'm a little bit surprised as to how it's all happened, but you never know with these things.
So a player that hasn't played, unheard of that they would really speak in the
Very
mix zone.
unusual that you would speak to the press. I mean, as Kaveh said, normally it's welcome. Like, we don't have to speak to the press, so you go straight to the bus, but if you have to speak, you will do, you do your job and do as you're told.
Oh, come on, Asmir, you love talking to the media.
Yeah.
Now you do. Right, look, how much more pressure, I spoke to Vinny about this, has Salah now put on Slot? Is he forcing the fan base to choose sides effectively, Kaveh?
I think what he did was, in a sense, it was calculated because he was told the previous day that he wasn't going to be involved. I think if he'd come on as a substitute in that game against Leeds, he wouldn't have stopped and talked. I think he was just annoyed. Liverpool conceded a late equaliser. He didn't get off the bench at all. He just came out and spoke without thinking and did something that he probably regrets now. But
was it without thinking, though? Because it was quite measured in some ways, wasn't it? Do you not think?
I think you could say that it was calculated in the sense that he went over and he spoke to the journalist and he said what he said. As a journalist, I've got to say I'm delighted that he stopped and spoke. What we want is players to be honest. But of course, a lot of the time they're scared to say what they actually think and the way they actually feel, because they know the media storm it can cause, and they know that it can become a soap opera, and there are consequences as well. I just think, part of me just thinks he's a human being. Let him be a human being. He's been dropped. He's an absolute Liverpool legend. At the end of the day, he's come out and said some things that he shouldn't have said. He's going to miss a game, and then I think he'll probably be back for the game against Brighton. But obviously there are question marks about his long-term future at Anfield.
And Asmi, if you're watching your teammate give this kind of interview, what are your thoughts on it? If you were watching a teammate do that?
I think it's a difficult situation for everyone. I think one of the most difficult things for any player is to deal with the press after a game. When a microphone gets put to you and you're running full of emotions. Like I said earlier, Mo Salah's a proud guy. He wasn't able to help his team. He wasn't picked to play from the beginning. He wasn't put on. Obviously, that result would have hurt him and his teammates. And so I think from a human being point of view, I totally understand it. Emotions do run high and get the better of you at times. We know that when you're in a high-profile position, especially him, one of the best players in the world, things are expected a little bit different of you, and I think that's where sometimes that challenge to manage those situations can be difficult for players. But I think as a team, you understand these things happen. You try and talk to each other, you try and put it to bed by communication, and hopefully move on in a better way.
Kaveh, what are Salah's options now?
Well, he's got to turn up to training tomorrow, keep his head down, not do any more interviews, and try and win his place back in the Liverpool side for the game against Brighton. Long term, we have to wait and see what's going to happen to him in the January transfer window. A lot of people are putting 2 and 2 together and assuming that a big club from Saudi Arabia are going to come along and sign him. Al Ittihad tried to sign him before. Al Hilal have been linked with a move for him as well. But he's got 18 months left on his contract. He earns about £400,000 a week. There's not as much money in Saudi football as there used to be. And also, a lot of these big Saudi Arabian clubs are trying to sign younger players. They don't want to be seen as a retirement home for players who are approaching the end of their career. Now, I am absolutely convinced that Mo Salah will one day play in Saudi Arabia, but I'm not convinced it will be this January. And also, from his family's point of view, does he want to move to Saudi Arabia now, or is family settled in the northwest of England? He's got the African Cup of Nations coming up. He's got the World Cup coming up with Egypt as well. Does it really make sense for him to move from a club who are playing in the Premier League, playing in the Champions League, to taking a step down or several steps down to play in a league like the Saudi Pro League?
Well, look, Cristiano Ronaldo famously gave that bombshell interview to Piers Morgan, and then it was a week later that he left Manchester United. That was in his second spell. Do you think it would be best for everyone if Salah moves on after this, or could there be a way back?
For me, I think the best thing to do is to try and find a way forward together. I think there is a way of fixing this. I think the African Cup of Nations comes at a great time. I think this will allow him to go away, represent his country, let the dust settle, let things calm down a little bit, and then try and find a way forward, whether he has to publicly apologise, whatever he has to do. Because Liverpool need Mo Salah as well. He's a big player. He's a top player. We know that. I know it's been a difficult start to the season, but he's a player they count on. And in January, it's a difficult window. If Mo Salah was to leave, who do you replace him with? I think there's so many questions. So I think, in my opinion, it's to try and find a way to be together, to be grown-ups in this situation, and try and be professional about the situation.
I think you would make a really good mediator. Oh. Don't you think?
No,
why not?
Negotiator.
Very good.
Director of football, would you think?
You'd be a very good diplomat.
Okay. Well,
or an ambassador.
I'll take it.
Okay, right. So we are going to be hearing from Arne Slot for the first time since these comments from Mo Salah, and Alisson will be joining him as the player in that press conference. But Mo Salah dropped for tomorrow night's game.